Welcome to Aligned AF, real talk for evolving souls with Yahweh Kent. Join Yahweh for honest conversations on spiritual growth, the messiness of life, and how to move through it all at a higher frequency. So grab a cup of tea and let's sail in. This is Aligned AF, and here's Yahweh.
There comes a moment, quiet at first, but undeniable, when the life you've been living no longer fits the shape of your soul. It may look fine from the outside, but inside, something ancient begins to stir. A knowing, a nudge, a crack in the armor. And then you find yourself standing at the crossroads, one path familiar and worn, the other shrouded in mystery. It's here that the real pilgrimage begins. To walk away from what is known, from comfort, identity, routine, is not a small step. It's a soul step, a holy rebellion, a surrender laced with courage. Jeannine Lindstrom did exactly that when she stepped onto the Camino Francés, not just as a physical journey, but as a spiritual act of integration, solitude, and trust. This conversation is for anyone who feels that pull, to release what no longer aligns, and to walk open-hearted into the great unknown, not to escape life, but to meet it more fully than ever before. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Aligned AF, Real Talk for the Evolving Soul. I'm Yahweh, and today we're exploring what happens when you stop trying to arrive somewhere and simply walk. My guest is Jeannine Lindstrom, a writer, yoga teacher, and self-proclaimed Buddhist Catholic, who recently completed the last 100-plus miles of the Camino Francés. What makes her journey so compelling isn't just the physical feat, but the intentionlessness of it. No big spiritual goal, no forced transformation, just a woman, a path, and a deep commitment to presence. We're going to talk about solitude, sacred pauses, post-divorce healing, and what it means to live without expectation, even when everything in the world tells you to search for meaning. This conversation is quiet, deep, and powerfully human. So let's walk it together. By day, she's a licensed insurance broker in Medicare, a writer-blogger, a nature explorer, a therapeutic yoga instructor, and a solo traveler. Jeannine Lindstrom is a writer whose love for storytelling began in childhood. She has contributed to the writing and publishing process as a research assistant and has several pieces featured in local magazines. Now, she channels her passion into Tuck the Fringe, her blog where she explores themes of healing, growth, and self-uncovery. She is currently working on a manuscript, a collection of essays, poems, stories, and meditations. A Northlander since moving to Kansas City in 1993, Janine is a proud mother of 2 grown sons and a grandmother of her 2-year-old grandson. She co-owns Medicare Solutions with her partner Ruth, guiding clients through the complexities of Medicare enrollment with care and expertise. An adventurer at heart, she finds solace and inspiration in nature, spending as much time as possible hiking, kayaking, biking, and exploring the world. Janine, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Yahweh. Thank you for having me. The beginning of that was, it really caught me in the throat a little bit.
I didn't know I did that, or I was that.
Yeah, right? It was beautiful.
Well,
Thank you.
well, you're welcome. It was inspired by everything we talked about and the words that you sent me. And I'm really excited to have you here today. When I was talking to my friend Karen about the podcast that she and I were doing, and she said, "Oh, by the way, I have a friend that just did the Camino," and I was like, "The way?" And she's like, yeah. I was like, oh, I really want to talk to her. So I'm excited to have you
Uh,
here.
I'm excited to be here. This is a first for me, so I'm
Good,
excited.
good. Well,
I'm
that's
all
great.
about experiencing new firsts
Yeah,
in this
yeah, yeah.
stage of life.
Yeah, I hear you. It's exciting to have that little bit of trepidation, that little bit of fear, like
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen. But when you stop and actually start to embrace those feelings, you get
Yeah,
some great stuff on the other side of it. You really
absolutely.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here today.
Thank you.
Why don't you take a moment and just tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe that I didn't touch on?
Well, gosh, everything you said is pretty accurate.
Okay.
I am a trained yoga teacher. I am a trained therapeutic yoga teacher, but I no longer have my studio. So that I just wanted, because if my students are listening to this and they're going to be like, wait, are you still teaching? Because they're always
When's
like,
when's the
can't
next
you just,
class?
can't you just teach one class or something? So just to make that clear, but yeah, that's pretty accurate. I think. Um, right now at this stage of life, I've got a lot of really amazing um, things happening in my life and amazing people. And, I'm blessed by the work that I do. I love the work that I do. It's in helping people, and my clients are very dear to me. So that's a big part of my life. But the other part of my life and the realization too is the work that I do gives me the pause and the freedom to be able to get out and explore and
Yeah.
have the flexibility to, hike in the middle of the day when the weather's beautiful and, so that, is wonderful too. So,
Yeah.
but no, everything was pretty accurate. I do have two grown sons. I have a daughter-in-law and a little grandson, and my little family unit, I just couldn't be happier with. We have wonderful times together when we get together, and it's such an amazing place to be when you start to see your children as adults as they make their way through. And I mean, thinking back to when I was their age and kind of stumbling through everything,
Yeah.
um, and 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 then, of course, anybody who's a grandma knows. Just they say it's like it's the best thing ever, and you just don't even know how great it is until you experience it. But yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ability to just spoil another human being and then give it back.
Right. Yeah.
I can get this
Yeah.
kid
And
all
and
wired up and ready to go, and then
yeah,
he's yours.
right. And Lawler, my grandson, his name is Lawler.
Oh, cool name.
He has been a happy boy since the day he came into this world. He is just such a bright, happy being of light. Of course he's two, so he has his moments, but they are so
Sure.
rare,
Yeah. Yeah.
when he gets upset with something or so. I think that's too, we have such a great time together having our little adventures. So
Yeah. And now
definitely a great place to be.
are you grandma or nana, or like do you have a special name?
Well, he hasn't really decided on that yet, and I'm
Okay.
leaving it up to him, but everybody else um, wants him to call me Nini. Since
Okay.
my name is Janine,
Oh,
they want him to call me Nini. Um, he'll just decide what he decides to call me.
yeah. Yeah.
So I'm
Kids are
fine
good
with
at that.
whatever.
Kids are good
Yeah.
at that. My
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he'd call me whatever he wants.
yeah. Yeah. Just call me. Just call me.
Yeah. Just call me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's start into this thing. To start with, there's probably going to be quite a few people that don't even know what the Camino is. So,
hmm
can you describe the Camino to someone who maybe has never heard of it?
Sure. So the Camino is a series of trails in Spain. There are several. The Camino Francés, which is the one I was on, is the most popular, and it is known to be religious or spiritual pilgrimage across Spain. And it is to be following in the footsteps of um, Apostle James.
Okay.
So James the Greater. There was two James, so this is
Okay.
James the Greater. And the reason it's significant is because it's said to that his remains are said to be at the um, Santiago de Compostela, the cathedral there,
Okay.
and they have a tomb there, and so that's the history of it. And he was the first apostle to be martyred for preaching the gospel, and he did so in different parts of Spain. So that's my easy version.
Yeah.
You could Google it, and there's a lot of really deep history of it, but that's my easy version.
Okay.
That's kind of what I put together when people, because when I decided to do this, people would ask me, what is it? And so I had to put together a little, paragraph for myself to tell people, because
Sure.
every time I would tell somebody, I would have a different way of explaining it.
Yeah. Well, maybe it means a little something different every once in a while
It
too.
does. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a spiritual journey for many people. But for some, it's completely a physical, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
some, it's completely a physical journey. So, it might be, some people bike it.
Yeah.
Um, Most people hike it, but there's a lot of people that aren't have no spiritual reason for being there. They're not interested in the history of it. And that's okay. You see all types of people taking this journey.
See, I can't imagine it not affecting somebody in a spiritual way regardless. I mean, they may go into it for
Right.
just the physical walk of it all, but that has got to do something to you spiritually, emotionally, mentally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I think, and I have um, stories from the group that I was with. Many of them met people along the path that
Hmm.
had no spiritual connection to it, but after experiencing that, they did. I mean,
Yeah.
one young man, um, so I was there with a group, although we were kind of separated. We didn't necessarily walk together, but
Hmm.
we came together at the end of the day. I was with this group, and one of the gals actually met a young man, and he's like, I don't know why I'm here.
Yeah.
And she knew that Spirit was telling her before she went on the Camino that she was going to meet someone and have this connection with.
Uh,
And she met this young man, I believe he was from China, and uh, they connected in a way that did become spiritual.
yeah. Yeah. You go 2,000, 3,000 miles from home just to meet the person that is going to mean the most to you for a while.
Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So there's all sorts of stories like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about where you were at in your life prior to the Camino, and then what inspired you to take the pilgrimage.
Okay. Well, so I learned about the Camino probably over a decade ago,
Yeah,
when I saw the movie The Way.
yeah, amazing movie.
And it really spoke to me, but it wasn't like the Camino was a bucket list item, you
Right.
know? It wasn't like, oh, I've got to do that. But it was always in the back of my head as something that I would probably experience one day.
Okay.
But it wasn't on my manifesting radar or anything like that. Um, well, 6 years ago, I went through a divorce after 25 years, and I found myself in this place of unknowing. Like you said at the beginning of the podcast, was what now, right? I'm having to figure out this whole new life. And so I look at the last 6 years leading up to the Camino as what I call my intermission.
Yeah.
And it was this time for me to start stripping away all of the things that built me to that point, right? The roles that I played, the people in my life, the jobs I've had, everything that builds up your identity. I started to slowly strip all of that away. And so I did all the things, right? I did the therapy and I did the reading and the journaling and everything you do to kind of get through that process of healing. And so the Camino for me was the end of my intermission. Literally, the day I got on the plane was 6 years to the day that I walked out of my marriage.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that at first, but the closer I got to the date, I started thinking there's something about that date that's speaking to me, and I'll never forget that day. I will never forget that day. I was frozen in fear, not because I couldn't leave my marriage, but I just didn't know how to take the next step, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
decision had already been made. Our marriage was done. We both agreed on that. I just didn't know what to do next. And I had a moment of just complete release. God, I can't do this on my own. I don't have the courage to do it. So um, that was that morning 6 years ago,
Mhm.
on the same day I got on the plane to go to the Camino. So for me, I looked at that as very significant in, if the last 6 years has been my intermission in life, this sacred pause for me to really figure things out. What do I want in my life? What do I value in my life? Who am I
Yeah.
if I am none of the things I was before?
Right.
Um, so stepping onto that adventure was the end of that 6 years for me, and walking through the threshold into my next
Yeah.
chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, do you think that what you were before and what you were stripping away, do you think those were labels that others put on you that you just accepted? Or do you think you did that to yourself in some way?
Mhm. Both.
Okay.
Both. Yeah. Yeah. The life I lived up to that point, um, I was a willing participant in
Okay.
all of it, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't put the burden on someone else. But yes, we are conditioned by the world we live in.
We are.
That's a given.
Yeah.
Um, and and I did take a lot of those roles very seriously,
Hmm.
right? I am the overachiever and I'm going to be the best
Yeah.
of whatever role you tell me I have to play. I'm going to do it
Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
even if it's not mine to do. And I
Right.
didn't, so there were a lot of things I took on that weren't mine, but a lot of things I knowingly and willingly took on over the
Yeah.
years. So, and I don't look back with, um, I, of course, there are times when you look back and go, oh, if I would have done this or that,
Sure.
but doing it any other way would not have gotten me to where I am now. So
Yeah.
I'm very mindful of how I look at that and how I think about that. And I'm human. I spiral down those moments
Sure.
too,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
But all in all, I have to look at it with compassion and forgiveness
Yeah.
first for myself,
Yeah. Yeah.
for the things that I let define me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we reach a point in our lives where we start to look at the things that others defined for me that I accepted, and the things that I defined for myself and I strived for. And as we expand, as we evolve spiritually, I think that the first things to start to fall away are the ones that somebody else defined for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. We're willing participants. We accept and we go forward, and we even try to do our best at them. But those
Mm-hmm.
tend to be the things that fall away first, because as we evolve, we start to realize, yeah, you know what? That never really was me, or that's not me anymore,
Mm-hmm.
because evolution changes us. It's I did a podcast with my wife, and we started talking about alchemy and how everything changes. And I think that we do that for ourselves emotionally and spiritually as we grow, and
Right.
as we start to change ourselves alchemically, if that's a word, the stuff that others put on us, that others had expectations of us, are the things
Mm-hmm.
that tend to fall away first.
Oh, yes, I agree. And I think that's by nature,
Yeah.
right? I think that's a natural process. Um, you've got to chip away the things that are easiest to chip away at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the things that are easiest to chip away at are your perceptions of me, your opinions of me, who you've created me to fit your pretty little picture,
Right.
right? And
Right.
it's interesting because when you start doing that, not it's not just those things that chip away those personalities or roles or what have you. It's also the people that helped create them,
Yeah. Yeah. It
right?
is.
So when you start to set boundaries or stop people pleasing to be accepted or stop trying to be friends with everybody just to be friends with everybody, people don't like that, right? So certain people
Right.
are going to
Right.
fall away when you start to release those things.
Yeah,
And
because
it's
you're
all
no
a
longer
natural
what
part of
they
the
expected.
process.
Yeah, they saw you a certain
Absolutely.
way. They see you a certain way,
Right,
and you're not that
right,
way anymore.
right, right.
And then it's a whole,
And
wow,
here's
you've changed. You've changed. Well, yeah, I've
right.
changed. Yes, and guess what? You
Right.
haven't.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the challenge is, and I saw this at first. I would start to make positive changes in my life. And whatever you believe comes from the universe, from
Yeah,
God or whatever, there's always something that's going to try and hook you, right? You can call it what you want to call it, but how serious are you?
right,
Okay? How serious are you for healing this and releasing this?
right.
Let me test you, right? So I'm going to give you some tests. Um, this person's going to show up in your life, going to test your boundaries, going to say things to you. How serious are you about healing
Yeah,
and moving forward? How
yeah,
serious are you about getting rid of these roles, so to speak, that you've carried all these years, that are the armor you spoke about, right?
yeah, yeah,
When that armor starts to crack, there's more space for the light to get in, but there's more space once for people to get in that aren't meant to be there, and that's your test.
yeah,
That's the test.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree 100%. They, yeah, yeah, the testing. Yeah, you mentioned that the Camino wasn't a bucket list item. You didn't feel like you were manifesting it. But I mean, there's an argument to be had that as soon as you said, I'm going to do that someday, the
Right,
manifestation was
right.
out there. So
Yeah.
I think you kind of did, but
Well, no, I totally, yes, in a subconscious way, yes.
yeah,
I think what I mean by that is it wasn't I do like to write things down,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
like to write things as if they've already happened.
Right.
And, years later, it's like, oh, look at that. I
Yeah.
wrote that, 3
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
ago, and now look, it's happening.
Yes.
So it wasn't one of those, very conscious things like I'm going to
Right.
do the Camino. But you're
Right.
right, absolutely. It's in the back of your mind, it's subconscious, and if it's meant for me, it won't pass me by, and it didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It wasn't like a vision board item where you
Right.
just planned out your steps to make it all happen.
Right.
But it
Yeah.
was the purest type of manifestation where you said, this will happen someday, and then you let it go.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
rest is up to the universe.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
that's
The
fantastic.
best type of manifestation.
It is because, well, there's less
Because
work.
then you're right. And you're not in charge anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You're just letting yourself be uh open to
yes,
receive it.
exactly. You also don't set yourself up for, you don't set yourself up for difficulty or disappointment or
Hmm.
frustration because you're not getting knocked down. If you made this conscious effort, I'm going to take these steps, and I know I'm going to do the Camino by spring of next year, and then life happens, and you don't get certain parts of
Hmm.
it taken care of, and then spring comes, and you're disappointed because you're not ready to go do it, or you can't afford it at the time, or whatever it might be. So then you're frustrated, and you're saddened, and you have regrets maybe, and then you start thinking maybe it won't ever happen, and now you're taking away your manifestation. Where if you just
Right.
say, I know it's going to happen, and let it go, then you don't set yourself up for that kind of experience.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Good for you for getting that one. That was, yeah, it just showed up. So,
Just showed up.
so let's talk about that. How did it just manifest? Like when it came down to the time to actually say, "Oh shit, this is really going to happen."
Yeah. It again, another thing that just was completely aligned outside of my doing, right? Um, Last year, I met a group of women through a networking event. I met one gal through a networking event. Mind you, a networking event I really didn't even want to go to, right? But I went.
Yeah.
I met this gal, Mary. We had things in common. She's like, oh, we paddleboard every Wednesday. I'm like, oh, I'd love to join you. So then I started going on Wednesday. And through that, I met another gal, and her name's Teresa. And we kind of hit it off. We have similar life experience in many ways. And we, we did a few things together, like, having coffee or getting dinner. And I had mentioned the Camino to her at one point, just kind of a, you know, eh,
Yeah.
nonchalant kind of thing. Oh, I'd love to
Off.
do the Camino one day.
Yeah.
And a couple of months later, she got an email newsletter from a missionary that she supported. Um, and she still got their email newsletters. And it talked about the Camino and that they were getting ready to do their Camino Plus. And so she forwarded it to me and she said, I want to introduce you to these people. They're wonderful people. And so she did. We started communicating back and forth. Um, the guides, Kate and Kelly, they are part of an organization that leads mostly university students on the Camino. They've been doing it since 1998. This is their ministry. And every year they do, I think, 3 trips, and this trip that I went on was a adult trip, basically. No camping, no cooking your food over the fire kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
But the more I learned about who they were and what they had done over the years, and the fact that they took care of everything, I thought, man, this is going to give me the opportunity to dip my toe in. Not doing 500 miles, but 100. And it was just kind of a no-brainer. Once I learned everything about it and it was completely accessible, I
Yeah.
thought, yeah, I'm just going to go for it. Yeah, put me down. It took me a couple of days to email back and forth, and I was like, yep, saving my spot.
Wow.
And 6 months later, I was there.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was definitely a God thing,
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
and then given the fact of the date of it, the date I
Right.
got on the plane, I was like, ooh, this is deep. This is
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah.
And I'm all about that, right? I look for that all the time. I'm
Yeah.
looking for the significance in everything.
Yeah. The synchronicities.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So,
it seems to add more significance to your experiences when you recognize those.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
don't.
always looking for that synchronicity or the
Yeah.
alignment of something.
Right.
I'm really open to that.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason for everything.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Um, so you mentioned that when we talked before, you mentioned that you mostly walked it alone for the
hmm
most part. What did that solitude reveal to you? How did it help you?
Um, walking alone is not new for me because I'm single, I live alone, I travel alone a lot, and I hike alone mostly. I mean, I hike with friends too, but mostly I hike alone, and it's my time with God. And so, so being on the Camino, um, and being alone, I think was interesting because it didn't, I'm with a group of 15 people, and each morning we're starting at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And the first day we started walking, I really hadn't gotten to know any of them yet. And so I just started walking, and they're walking their pace. And I think it just naturally progressed to the point of you spread out, right? You
Yeah.
start to separate a little bit. And we were all at different levels of hiking. So it happened naturally, but for me to be solo and hiking in that solitude was exactly what I was supposed to do on the Camino. I went
Yeah.
in with no expectations. I didn't want to say, please reveal this to me, show me the way. I just went in completely open to whatever I was meant to experience.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't, the solitude part of it was very easy for me. And I know for a lot of people, solitude is hard,
Yeah.
but and I think that's just also because of the world we live in.
Yeah.
But gosh, I am a big believer that we need solitude every day
Yeah.
to really reset ourselves,
Yeah. Yeah.
to de-stress, to come to a place of grounding so that we can be out there living fully
Yeah.
for the people, for ourselves, and for the people that we live for.
Yeah.
Um, so the solitude on the Camino, I will say, revealed a lot to me, but not in the really like profound way that uh, some might expect, right? You're on this pilgrimage and you're going to have this huge epiphany, right?
Right.
It
Right.
really wasn't like that. But the solitude, the quietness, the just being present part of it allowed me to look around and see everything and to be 100% present in the experience. And now there were times that things came to me and I absolutely knew they were for me because my mind was not distracted at all.
Yeah.
Like it's like being completely quiet, right? if you're completely quiet and then something comes to you, you're like, oh, that's definitely for me, right?
Yeah.
There's nobody else around here.
Yeah.
It's definitely speaking to me.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. The solitude is, some people are so afraid of, well, to me, there's like a couple of ways of seeing it. Some people are just afraid to be alone. And some
Hmm.
people are afraid of what others are going to think of them if they ask for alone time.
Right.
Like in my house, we've reached a point in our spiritual evolutions where we know how important it is for everybody to have their own space.
Hmm.
So my wife has her space, my son has his space, I have my space. We have space that we enjoy together, and we overlap with each other every once in a while in our own spaces. But if I need space, I've got my spot down in the basement where I've got a bed, I've got a sofa, and I've got my podcast stuff and a place to meditate, and that's it. And everybody knows
Yeah.
dad's in his space. And my wife the same way. She's got, her bed and a place where she does her yoga and her meditation and her Pilates and all that stuff. And then, of course, my 8-year-old, it's his gaming and reading his books and
Right.
stuff. And we all honor that for each other because, like you were saying, you have to have that space for yourself where you can become your best self in order
Hmm.
to be your best self for others that are in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. On day 3,
Yeah.
they specifically said, hey, if you can, we'd really like you to have this be a day of solitude. And I'm really glad that they did that. Not necessarily for myself, but for other people who weren't used to it, right?
Right. Right.
They said, try to have this day where you're not conversing with another person, or you're really allowing yourself to just be in quiet yourself. So I was really glad they did that. Um, that happened to be the day that um, was uh, back home, back in Kansas City. Um, a friend of mine who owns a yoga studio was having a chant for peace that day. It was, I believe it was June 21st.
Okay.
And so I just decided that I was going to chant with them to myself, um, the chant for peace. And I did all day in my head, sometimes out loud, sometimes in a whisper, depending on, where I was.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that felt really great. It felt really great to connect with um, the people back home.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the solitude, it's easy for me. It's necessary for me um, daily to have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You recharge that way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hear you 100% on that. You had said to me when we spoke that you saw the journey like a sacred pause for you. So
Hmm.
what does
Hmm.
that mean to you? How does that show up?
Um, so like I said before, the last 6 years has kind of been an intermission for me.
Right. Right.
Um, I looked at the first, let's see, I was 49, so the first 49 years as act 1 and 2 of my life.
Hmm.
And then, and, 50 to now 55, 49 to 55 as this intermission. Like, what do I do now? If the next, let's say I have 30 years, 33 years, or whatever, if this is my act 3, how do I want to live it? And I think the last 6 years of intermission has given me, again, stripped down the things that needed to go away. I look at my values, what's important to me, and how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
So this whole 6 years has been a sacred pause. The Camino was every day a sacred pause and walking through another threshold. I started in one spot and ended in another every day.
Right.
So over and over, I was walking through a threshold. We hiked 7 days, right?
Yeah.
So every day was that threshold. And I found it to be completely that sacred pause,
Yeah.
every one of them, every day,
Yeah.
just pushing me towards the end
Yeah.
of that 6 years. So every day, like I said, was a different experience. Some days I
Yeah.
walked alone. Some days I had somebody walk with me.
Yeah.
The last day when we enter Santiago de Compostela, this is where the cathedral is.
Mm-hmm.
It started to rain. I think we started maybe at 8 o'clock. By 8:30, it was raining, and not a heavy rain, but pretty steady. And I just didn't bother me. I put my rain gear on and I just kept going. I knew I wanted to get to the cathedral in time for the mass at noon. And they said, try to be there by 11 because they start lining people up. There's thousands of people every day, right, that are trying to get there.
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted to be there. The morning started off, it was very quiet. It was the rain coming down. And the one thing that came to me, there were many things that came to me over the days, but the one thing that came to me that day was the Who song, Rain, Love, Rain Over Me, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it just, the chorus of that song just kept repeating in my head. And the rain, I think on the last day, was the final cleansing
Yeah.
of the 6 years.
Yeah. You washed it
Um,
all away.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Um, and then when I walked into the courtyard in front of the cathedral, the rain stopped. And it felt like I had just been baptized.
Yeah.
And then to go into the cathedral to experience the Mass, the Pilgrim's Mass, was just the perfect ending to those 7 days
Yeah.
and the last 6 years. It was, like I said, every day was just, my mind was clear. I had no expectations. I wasn't experiencing these huge epiphanies. God
Yeah.
wasn't saying, these big things to me. It was just completely being present. And to end the 7 days with that was, again, another alignment.
Yeah.
Like, this is how it was meant to be.
Yeah.
And this is where you are meant to be. This is the end of your 6-year intermission, right?
Yeah.
Then, so the next day we drove, I think, if I remember correctly, it was maybe 2 hours. I can't remember. I think it was 2 hours, to Finisterre, or Finisterre, the end of the earth, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You go to the end of the earth, the very western point of Spain, and you're up on this big hill. And in the movie The Way, they go there and they
Leave,
toss the
they leave
rock,
their rock.
right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
leave the rock. So I had gathered a rock that one of the young men, that he's 8, his name is Christian, he was on the pilgrimage with us.
He was 8.
And yes, and
Wow.
I'm telling you, he was, yeah, his faith was stronger than most of the adults I know.
Wow.
Right? He was just such a neat young man. So he gave me a rock. He gave me several. I kept one because I have a base full of rocks that I gather on my trips.
Yeah.
And I kept one. And then the other one was just a nice, smooth, flat rock. And I just held that rock and I put everything in it from my first two acts and my
Yeah.
intermission,
Yeah.
everything up to that point. And I stood on the edge of the earth, overlooking the ocean, and I threw that rock. And with it, I threw every burden. I threw everything, every armor, everything, everything I needed to release. I
Wow.
threw it
Yeah.
into the ocean. And so those two moments, the rain on the seventh day and the baptism and the mass, and then the next day just having that moment. I did have someone, one of the other people with us, record it for me. I
Yeah.
said, will you video me doing this? This is significant for me,
Yeah.
this is really significant. So that all came as just such an organic experience. It wasn't like pre-planned. It was just random, I didn't
Yeah.
take something with me from my life. I didn't carry that burden every day. It was a rock that this little 8-year-old boy gave me, and I thought, this is the perfect rock
Yeah.
for me to give my burdens to and then give it back to nature.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So there you are on the edge of the earth, emotionally and spiritually naked, really, at that point, just like it's gone. I've
It's
stripped it all
gone.
away and
That's
I've
right.
given it over. And now what? What did you
Yeah.
bring back with you? When we talked a couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago, you said you had not even fully landed yet and integrated. So how's that going
Yeah.
for you?
Well, I have that conversation with myself every day. I want the things that I want to integrate into my life are just a continuation of what I was already doing, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So the simplicity of life, um, making sure that I'm staying true to myself,
Yeah.
that I'm staying true to the sacred contract I have of who I was created to be before the world got a hold of me. And
Yeah.
I visualize that every day as one of my earliest memories as a young girl. I can still see it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where I go to because I want to return to that point of authenticity. In my mind, I can see her. I can see what God wants her to be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And, it's hard to come back and live in this world. And Karen, who we have this conversation all the time, and she's one of my greatest sounding boards because I can be, for lack of a better word, spiraling,
Uh-huh.
and going the wrong direction in my thoughts. And she's like, well, just remember, right? You've already released all that. You don't have to do it again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the world wants to remind us of how broken we are or how, insignificant we are or how we're not enough.
Yeah.
And so I am just reminded all the time, like, nope, I've already walked through that threshold.
Yeah.
I'm not going to repeat it again. And God did not bring me to this point not to carry me forward,
Right.
right? It
Right.
would be dishonoring. It would be an act of violence. This is an act of violence on my heart to not honor where I am now,
Right.
right?
Right.
So even in the moments where it's really hard
Yeah.
and the world gets the best of me, I don't I don't sit there very long
Yeah.
anymore. And I think if anything, that comes from the Camino.
Yeah.
That comes from um, that significant amount of time walking 100 miles, you know, each step a rhythm of letting go.
Yeah.
And so if I can continue, well, not if, but as I continue to bring things back into my life, I think it's more simplicity and just knowing, like, you did it, right?
Yeah.
That was the threshold. You don't have to go back anymore. You
No.
don't have to revisit it anymore. Because I mean, honestly, that is part of healing, right? You
Yeah.
do have to revisit things.
Yeah.
You can't just go, well, everything's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm type A. I'm going to read every book and I'm going to learn everything. I'm a learner. I want to know. Give me the checklist, like
Yeah.
check, check, check. I'm going to check it off the list. Those are all good things. Those all help you to move forward
Yeah.
if you're diligent.
Right.
Um, but that's not it, right? It
No.
comes down to going back again to when you were created at the most authentic level of yourself
Yeah.
before this world got a hold of you,
Yeah.
and who is that person? Really
Right.
knowing that person.
Right. Right. It's people don't realize how easy it is to backslide because that energy that you used to live in was there for so long that
Right.
as difficult and challenging and maybe even horrible as it may have been, it became comfortable because it was what you were used to. And what we're used to, we tend to gravitate towards because the other
Yeah.
way is a lot of work and it can be scary because I don't know what's there. But my goodness, it's so rewarding when you actually
It is.
continue forward. And to realize you said you mentioned that we do revisit things, but to be able to revisit it as an observer instead of a
Mm-hmm.
participant is a
Correct.
huge revelation. And that when you can do that, it's in that moment when you realize, yes, this is fully behind me.
Yes. Um, and when you can come as the observer with compassion,
Yes, yes,
right?
yeah,
I don't observe things anymore um, as someone who is like has any kind of negative um, thought about it, right? I observe it with compassion and forgiveness, whether it's another person, whether it's a situation. I just have to come from a place of compassion. And I think the whole the whole process of life is to get to that point of consciousness where you are there, right?
yeah,
You are being conscious, not subconscious. And you talk about when you're in a situation or you've got all those layers that have been piled up on you for so long, right?
yeah,
Um, it becomes a neurological thing, right?
yeah,
You have
yeah,
neural pathways, and I started learning about that myself 3 years ago when I really started doing a deep dive into, okay, I've I've done the things that I can do on my own, but now I need someone's help.
yeah,
So I started diving into um, the neural pathways that are created through trauma and how do you heal those? How do you get out of the cycle?
yeah,
Um, and it's hard, let me tell you.
yeah,
I worked with, I call him my brain coach, but I worked with IFS therapy, and it's literally about addressing all of those parts of you, right?
right,
And having a relationship with those parts of you. and coming to them as a adult with wisdom versus a child with wounds.
Yeah.
And what fascinates me, because I love learning, I want to learn. Don't just tell me what to do. I want to know why. I think what fascinated me was how hard it really is when you got to dig deep and look at things, right?
Yeah.
So the first few times I went through IFS therapy, um, I was spent. Like I had no energy left. I felt this burst of energy right after, but later in the day and days later, had I let myself, I would have curled up in a ball and done nothing.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my brain coach, as I call him, I remember saying, "Oh, I see why people want to be on a prescription.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be much easier for me to walk into the kitchen, grab a pill, and have some water and be done with it, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's just not me.
Right.
I want to get to the root cause and I want to fix it.
Right.
And I feel like I have done that. So again, I don't need to revisit it. And that's part of the Camino, what the Camino's done for me.
What a blessing that is.
Yeah.
Um, so you mentioned to me that you are now working on a book.
hmm
So tell us a little bit about your book.
Sure. Well, you mentioned earlier my blog, which is Tuck the Fringe.
Hmm.
I've been writing for years. I had a blog. I think I started my first blog in 2012 when I first really started going through yoga teacher training and I was really diving deeper into the teachings. Um, then it turned into, it went deeper as I started teaching and learning about just what I call self uncovery, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not recovery, it's just uncovery. I'm uncovering. It's not that I don't know, it's not there. It's still there. I just got to
Right.
uncover it.
Right.
So I've been writing a lot about that for years. And so um it's been in my heart for several years now to write a book. And I just always was like, yeah, I don't think I'm not going to write a book. But I had all this stuff that I'd written, chapters after chapters. So the desire kept getting stronger.
Yeah.
And then one day I went to a meditation at Temple Buddhist Center. And the teacher that day said, if God puts a desire in your heart, it's there for a reason. And you're meant to honor it. And I went, huh, I wonder if that's why this writing thing has been itching at me for
Yeah.
like 2 years now, and I just haven't done anything with it.
Yeah.
So I started pulling out all my old writings, and I thought maybe it's time. I could look at what I've written over 10 years ago, or even just, before prior intermission,
Yep.
Acts 1
Yep.
and 2, from
Yep.
a different perspective, right? Who I am
Yep.
now, I can look back at those writings. So I started writing, and about three-quarters of the way through, it's like, this is good, but it's not meant to be in this format. It's meant to be short clips of whatever, right? So I came up with the idea of untucked, not tuck the fringe, but untucked. And untucked is, reflections for the soul's unfolding. And
Okay.
they are a series of my journals, prayers, meditations that I wrote when I was teaching yoga. And um, so I've been writing that now. I'm in the process of, now that it's most of it's written, I'm formatting it.
Hmm.
And I, hope to have that done soon. But I'm taking my time with it and just asking. what is meant to be to come
Sure.
through me, that I'm a
Sure.
conduit. It's not meant for me to decide. So sometimes I go back and I look at a journal entry and I think, oh, this is really good. It should go in the book. And then I type it up as a reflection. I'm like, yeah, it's not that great.
Mhm.
You know, so I'm kind of in that process, but it feels really authentic to me to write this style
Yeah.
of book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, did any of your writings or any of your thoughts for your book, um, did the pilgrimage deepen any parts of that in any way? Has anything changed for you for
Yes.
that now that you're back?
Yes. It didn't change. I think it just solidified it. One of the themes that kept coming up to me on the pilgrimage, and like I said earlier, when you're quiet and God speaks to you, you know it's for you,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah.
nothing else around you. You're like, okay, that must be for me. But it kept coming up and it was bridge the gap,
Mhm.
bridge the gap. And I thought, okay, um, my writing is supposed to bridge the gap.
Okay.
And I don't have a complete definition of that, but I think if anything, it's about sharing parts of my journey for people to connect to who who might be experiencing the same thing, who
Okay.
might be on both sides of the threshold, not knowing how to move forward.
Okay. So
And
the
I want to
gap.
bridge that gap for them.
So the gap is the lives that they've lived up to a certain point, and the maybe where they want to see themselves or see themselves already. Is that the gap that you're talking about?
I think so.
Okay.
Like I said, it at first I thought it was going to be more spiritual,
Yeah.
you know, um, and it might be organically because my writing it does touch on a lot of different thought systems.
Okay.
Um, but I do believe that it's it's to help people, or I hope it is to help people to understand they have everything they need within them, right? Um, some of the sections in the book are, you know, reflect on that sacred pause, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the return to stillness, the return to what is true, right? What is stripped away, then what is true. And then having the courage to use that to rise up,
Yeah.
right? So I think it is, that's what came to me on the Camino for my writing was to bridge the gap.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of touched on this a little bit. My next question was going to be if someone listening is in the middle of their own transition, their own spiritual journey, but they're not sure what's next for them, what would you want to offer them as a little bit of encouragement?
Like I said earlier, I'm pretty type A. I want to read all the books, listen to the experts,
Hmm.
take what resonates with me and move on,
Yeah.
right? I want to check the things off the list. And like I said, those are all good things to do.
Yeah.
But I think the best thing you can do is again, return to the stillness, connect with the God of your understanding. Start to strip away with with that connection. Um, the other stuff is just a tool.
Yeah.
Don't put all your faith in those tools
Right.
because really it's spirit working through you.
Right.
And you could have all the tools and have no relationship with God.
Yeah.
So you need the tools.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't because I love the tools, right?
Yeah.
I'm writing a tool.
Yes.
So I hope, but yeah, I would say got to really return to that place that is that deep soul connection with God, um, whatever that looks like for you,
Yeah.
right? And maybe that's part of bridging the gap too, is I've known who God was for me since I was very young.
Yeah.
I have felt that connection. So I believe you have a connection to spirit, to the universe, to the Holy Spirit, to the divinity, whatever you want to call it, right? I think
Yeah.
we all have that.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would say is you've got to really get quiet and reconnect there.
Right.
Um, I would say that, that will guide you to the other things that you need
Yeah. One
in your
thing
life.
for the folks out there that maybe don't know what that looks like for them, don't know what their definition of God is or what their understanding of the universe is, you don't have to define it in order to trust
Mm-mm.
it. You can
No.
trust that it's there. And you don't need a definition. It doesn't need a label. It doesn't need to be put in a box. In fact, there should be no box, but you can trust that it's there.
Yes. Yes. And it's going to look different for everybody,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. And so for me, I always know I connect deeper in nature,
Yep.
you know. Um, God is nature
Yep.
and nature is God.
Yep.
So if I'm feeling like I'm at a place where, man, I'm going down that hole again, right? I'm spiraling. I'm having my own pity party.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get out in nature, you know.
Yeah.
But it's different for everybody, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um, some people find God in music. Some
Yeah.
people find God in meditation, and I do as well. But it's going to look different. It's going to feel different for everyone, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Just depending on you.
Yeah.
So
And
honor. And that's why I say God of your understanding.
right. And to be okay with the idea, with the thought that not every single tool is going to be right for you. You
Oh
know,
gosh, no,
you can't use them all. I'm not going to fill my
no.
garage with a bunch of mechanics tools if I'm never going to work on my car. It just doesn't make any sense. I know that they're out there, but there's
Right.
no point to them for me.
But don't you think too that that's what the world wants us, that's what our culture wants us to do,
Yes.
right? Get
Yes.
all these tools. And
Yes.
I can tell you, I mean, the tool thing, that's a perfect example. We continue to pile on and consume more,
Yeah.
thinking that that's going to get us to the point where we need
Right.
to be,
Right.
right?
Right. And
It
the promises that
doesn't.
are connected to those tools, where it literally will
Right.
say on the back of the book, when you're done with this book, you will have this, and you will have this, and you will
Right.
have this.
Right.
And in
No.
99 of 100 cases, you're not going to have it.
Yeah.
It's not yours
Yeah.
with this tool.
Yeah.
And that's
And that's
okay.
why I say, yeah, take what resonates with
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
think there's beauty in all ancient wisdoms. I think there's something to be learned in all traditions,
Yeah.
in all philosophies.
Yeah.
And that's that for me, I love learning, especially from the mystics.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that just, wow, it really opens my mind to understanding more.
Yeah.
And, there, and tools, by the way. I mean, there were things that resonated with me 6 years ago that absolutely don't now because
Right.
I'm a different person. I'm a completely different person,
Correct.
right? You have to realize if you are continuing to do the work, you will continue to grow and heal and become more authentic. You've got to realize there are a lot of things in your life, including people,
Yeah.
that are no longer meant to be,
Yeah.
right? Doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it wasn't meant to be at some time. It's just that if you're a new person, if you're a changed person, if you've done work and you've changed certain things about yourself,
Hmm.
then it's just not going to resonate with
You're
you
right.
anymore.
You're right. And
Yeah.
I don't want this to sound like I'm speaking down about people, but people are tools as well. People in your
Yeah.
life are
Hmm.
tools for certain aspects of your life, and that's okay. It's not something where you're using another human being for something, but there are going to be people throughout your journey that are tools and teachers and supporters that 6 years from now are not going to resonate with you anymore. They're not the
Absolutely.
tool for your life the way it is right now. And that's okay.
Hmm.
It doesn't need to be a
Yes.
horrible, horrible experience. It just needs to be a moving on.
Correct. Correct. And I think if you're open to it, certain things are going to be placed in your life,
Yep.
and take a step back and be open to seeing the reason behind it.
Yep.
Okay. Even if you have someone that's challenging in your life, or had someone, and you're at a place now where you're past that, but you're still wondering, like, you know, there is something to be learned
Yeah.
and given through that process. That
Yep.
person was there for a reason.
Yes.
Um, and and so, not that you're not affected by it. You have to
Yeah.
grow through that.
Yep.
But yeah, and come from a place of compassion and forgiveness.
Yep. And if you can't see right away what they're there for, what that person is in your life for you, it's
Hmm.
okay. Just trust that
Hmm.
there's a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? The one of the hardest things to look at when you're looking at those situations is the mirror,
Yeah.
right?
It is. Yeah.
So for me, it's hard to look at a situation with a person, whether it's current or past, or whether it's just a blip,
Yeah.
right? A
Yeah.
blip on the radar. It's like, what is this mirroring in me? What
Yeah.
is this telling me about myself? It's not about the other person.
Right. Right. There's so many experiences in our lives where it would do us it would do us well to remember that
Hmm.
it's not always about the other person. It's not about anything other than who you are as a person. And those people that maybe have been a part of trauma in your life, or a part of difficulty or frustration or sadness or grief in your life, and to start to look at forgiveness, and to realize that you're not giving them a get out of jail free card. You're forgiving because it's about you, and about who you
Right,
are, and about what kind of person you are growing into. And do you want to carry all that negativity with you going forward? Well, no, I
right.
don't really want to. Then you need to forgive.
Well, let me tell you, um, that is a process,
It is.
right? I wanted for so long closure,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I was trying to get closure, um, from my marriage. I
Yeah.
was trying to, like, you know, I went, you know, I went through the stages of grief
Yeah.
many times,
Yeah.
right? And I wanted closure, and I wanted it from him, right? Impossible,
No.
impossible. And closure and forgiveness, same thing, right? I, so it was a moment, and it was just like, wow, it was a physical feeling of, like, this is no longer, right?
Yeah.
Truly forgiveness,
Yeah.
truly compassion. I wish compassion on this person I hope this person has healed the pain that they carry. I
Yeah.
truly want this person to be happy and have gratitude and peace in their life, right? And when I got to that point and I was like, I want these things for this person. I've invested so much time in this person. I can no longer be angry. I can no longer be resentful or bitter. I want what's best for this person.
Yeah.
And that was like, whoo,
Yeah.
like the weight just like these forgiveness bubbles like
Yeah.
lifting off of me. And I was like, yeah, it is simple as that.
Yeah.
And I forgive myself.
Yeah.
Like we were both in this marriage. We were
Yeah.
both in this relationship. It's not one-sided.
No.
If anything, I can look back and go, yeah, I really wasn't equipped for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it is who it brought me to the place of where I am now. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been this person
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah. You're
So
absolutely right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. What a relief that is when you finally reach that point, huh? It's like
yeah,
you lost 175 pounds. You
right.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
It's a big difference. Um, wow. So thank you for all you've shared with us today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the listeners, where they can read your blog? Anything you've got
Sure,
going on that you'd like to share?
sure. Well, my blog is tuckthefringe.com.
And that's
And
TUCKTHEFRINGE.
yes,
Tuck the fringe.
yes,
Okay.
yes. So as a therapeutic yoga teacher, I taught a lot of restorative poses, and we use a lot of props like bolsters and blankets. And every day in class, I would show people, and before we would get into these really deep, relaxing poses, and we would prop you up with the bolster, put the blanket behind your neck, wrap your arms. I mean, we did a lot of things to make people feel comfortable. And I would always say, I would teach how to fold the blanket or roll the blanket. And I would always say, because a yoga blanket's got fringe on the end. So I
Yeah.
would say, okay, start here and tuck the fringe, right?
Oh,
So you're
wow.
rolling the
Okay.
blanket and you're going to tuck the fringe because you don't want the fringe bothering you or, sticking out or clumping up. It's kind of like the princess and the pea. When you're going
Yeah.
into deep sleep or relaxation, you want to be comfortable. So I just kept saying, tuck the fringe, tuck the fringe, tuck the fringe. And it just became a term that my students grew to expect me to say.
Yeah.
And if I didn't say it, they would say it for me. Wait a minute. Don't you need us to tuck the fringe? And then one day in class, I'm just teaching as I normally do. And I said, tuck the fringe. And everybody goes into this relaxation pose for like 10 minutes. And that entire 10 minutes, I sat there and I went, I've been tucking my fringe my entire life. I've been hiding my fringe forever. I have been trying to put myself into this neat little package my whole freaking life. And so it was that moment when I was like, huh, tuck the fringe now. It's an anthem, right?
Yeah.
And so I write about those moments where we tuck ourselves away, where we, like what you said at the beginning, where we are performing at the level of everyone else's opinions, expectations,
Yeah.
right? All of these roles that we create in life to fit this persona
Yeah.
that isn't who we are in the first place. There's snippets of who we are, weaved into it.
Yep.
So Tuck the Fringe, that is my blog. You can also find it on Facebook. And when I started writing the book, Tuck the Fringe, and it was more based on chapters and essays from my life, and then I switched it over to this, I started taking the chapters apart and creating these miniature reflections.
Uh-huh.
I don't call it a devotional because it's not something you're going to pick up every day and read, one per day, but
Yeah.
it might be something you read from start to finish. It might be something that is just maybe you look in the table of contents and you go, I need to read about forgiveness today.
Yeah.
But it's Untucked is the title. Untucked Reflections for the Soul's Unfolding. So whereas Tuck the Fringe was how we tuck everything in,
Yeah.
now we're unfolding it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where you can find me online. Yeah.
That's great. I want to have you back when you get the book done and it's ready to
Oh,
be
of course.
talked about
Yeah.
and advertised
Yeah.
about, and where
Oh,
I
that
can
would be
get my own
great.
signed
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
look forward to that. That's great.
Thank you. Well,
Well,
I really enjoyed this, and you made it very simple and very enjoyable. Thank
yeah,
you.
it's just a conversation. It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
So thank you, Janine. And as I close out, folks, there's something about the way Janine tells her story that reminds me that not all transformations look like fireworks. Sometimes they look like a steady walk, a quiet breath, a willingness to be changed by the moment instead of controlling the outcome. So if you're in a space where you don't know what's next, maybe you don't need a plan. Maybe you just need a path, even a short one, and the permission to walk it in empty, open willingness. Janine, thank you for walking this stretch of the path with us today. And to all of you listening, keep showing up, even if you don't have a map. You're not lost. You're just becoming. So until next time, remember that you're getting closer to aligned AF every single day. Take care. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today. If this episode spoke to you at all, share it with a friend or someone who needs it. You can also leave a review or connect with me online. You can find Aligned AF on YouTube, Facebook, your favorite podcast channel, or at alignedaf.org. And if you want to reach out directly, you can email me at alignedafpodcast@gmail.com. So until next time, stay aligned AF.